Hello everybody. Today I'm going to show you how you can use Service Manager and the System Center infrastructure and Provence to map your assets to location information automatically. This is a short demo with some slides in front to explain the situation and the scenario, and then we do the demo live in the system. Okay. What is our challenge? The challenge is we want to keep track of physical movements of CIs, and this is typically done by processes. Unfortunately, in some organizations, these processes do not always follow reality, so people take their stuff, move it somewhere, and the service desk doesn't know it, so the information is not updated. So what happens is asset location mapping is incorrect, and the more incorrect it gets, the more useless it gets. So what we have is in the configuration items, we get the IP address, which is inventorized daily, hopefully, if you have SCCM in place. And this information is then an indicator for the location of the specific CI, which will help us to map it to locations. What we want is the system shall link assets to locations based on the IP address of the CI. And that's what I'm going to show you how to do. So the scenario is we have CIs which are located in office number 1. We want to see that, and as soon as the CI moves, the IP address changes from, I get back here one step, from a 35 network to a 32 network, and we want to see that in the system. Before we start, we need to know 3 steps. We have business rules, we have a location class extension, and an orchestrator runbook. You will find everything in the blog entry to create that in your environment as well. So the business rules are what happens if we have a CI and this CI has an IP address and no location linked. What we are doing is we link this asset, they're encoding assets to locations. Makes sense. The second situation is we have an IP on the CI and it has a location information. We link it to the location of this IP network, nevertheless where it was before. So we overwrite the old information if it's incorrect. The third situation is we have a CI with an IP address. It has no location, but there is no a location for this particular network of this CI. So this needs a manual intervention. So we do a warning, and somebody needs to take care. Why is there an IP segment with no location information? In the fourth case is we have a CI with no IP address, so we don't care about the information of the location because it's probably not discovered or something else is happening. What we require is a unique location to IP mapping, so no double entries. This will generate a warning also, and what we are assuming is that if we have CIs with no assets, we don't care because we don't want to map CIs, we want to map assets to locations. Okay, the location class in Provence itself does not provide network information, so there are 2 things I want to show you here. There is a class extension, there are network address and network netmask fields. For this demo I'm just using the first one, the net IPv4 address number 1 field, and to make it easier to enter that I also did a form extension, so you have a nice form in a separate tab with network so that this data can be entered by the network guys or whoever. Okay, what the runbook does is it follows exactly our business rules, so it's triggered here manually, so you might do that over schedule. We get the CI, we see if the CI has an asset. If it doesn't, we simply send a platform event CI with no asset found. Then we get the asset itself. Then we do a match on the location information, and then according to the business rules, three things can happen. First thing, there is no location with that specific network segment, so the question is, does it have an asset? So there might be several additional steps, but basically we can send a warning, and based on that information you could also include, we have a CI, it has a location information, but there is no network behind. This orange link here means we do a query in the locations but find multiple locations on one network segment, which is bad. So a misconfiguration in the mapping. And the best case is the location match is 1, so we have an exact match on one network segment is one location, and that means link the asset to this location, should it be here. Okay, some details on the get CIs is very simple. We query the Windows Computer CIs, get the IP address, and query into a filter on all CIs which have an IP address with a specific segment. And the location, the other thing is quite easy. You will see it in the explanation then. The other thing is the location. So we are taking the IP address of the CI and then query on the location information. And this is done with the field. So what we're doing is the CI has the information 172.16.32.117, and we want to just have 172.16.32, and this is done by this specific string here. Okay, enough theory. Let's see how this works in practice. That's a service manager implementation with a location hierarchy structure. So you see we have 3 countries here: Austria, Germany, Switzerland, and in each of the countries are locations stored. For example, in Zurich there is a prime tower and floor 3-5. There's a small office with 3 assets. And if you look at these 3 assets, all of them have a related CI. And just to show you one of them, this CI in this case is called Ganymede, and this CI has an IP address 35. Okay, the same is with the others, so I don't do the details now. So what I have here is then a simple list of IP devices. So there are a couple of IP devices in my system, in my environment. The 3 of them have a 35 segment, and the others have a 34 segment. Okay, and now our location information. We see that the Austrian floors in the Twin Tower have segments 33, 32, and 34, and the segment in Zurich has 35. Okay, what we're going to do now is we are simulating a move, and this move is simulated by a little script, and this script says we are moving to the net 32, which is floor 32 in Vienna. Let's fire up this script here. So we get the 3 objects and change the property to the new value. Let's do that. Very quick. So we go back to our management client, see the IP devices, and as you see, they have new addresses here. So this is a simulation of the inventory scan. Okay, in our location map, there is still the old mapping between the CI network, the old one, and the asset. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we fire up our orchestrator runbook. Do that quite quick, and it's collecting all the CIs, queries through, writes the platform events if it has no assets, and then does the mapping. This takes about a minute or so. It's finished already, so we go back to our management client, go to our asset view by location, go to our Switzerland Prime Tower floor, and it's empty. What we're seeing is that the Twin Towers in floor 32 now have 3 new assets. And to show you how quick that works is the opposite. I will now do a move to a different floor. Let's go back to floor 35, so to this one. So we are simply firing up that script part here. So we're moving back to Switzerland. We fire our orchestrator runbook. You see this really just takes, how long? 1 minute, 20 seconds, more or less. And as soon as this is finished, we look into our hardware assets view, do a refresh on that. By location, and we have our assets back in the Prime Tower in Zurich. Yeah, that's more or less the explanation. So based on the business rules and that runbook, you can do everything you want. Just what you will find here is the extension, the class extension on the blog. One thing which is very important, please, if you sign this management pack, change that key. In the version you will find on the blog, this key entry will be changed or removed. Everything else can be left as it is. And yeah, I hope you find that useful, and if you need some information on that or some questions, simply drop me an email. You can find me on this email address, rs@rconsult.at. Thank you. Bye.